Hello? Can you guys hear me okay? Testing, 1, 2, 3, testing. Comment. Oh, that's my comment. All right, everybody. First person on, give me an audio test. Let me know that you can hear me okay, please. Would be greatly appreciated. What's up, Mighty Cruz? How's it going? Welcome to the stream today. You can hear me okay? Feels like it's a little dim in here today. I'm not sure why. But all my lights are on. So, all right. We're going to give everybody a little time to jump on. Fantastic. Jadota Dainsburg. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. Says, I can hear you. Awesome. All right, guys. Cool. So jumped on a little bit early to do an audio test. Make sure everything was going okay there. Oh, I know what it is. Give me 1 second. Let me turn I think my brightness on this light's a little low. So let me turn that up. Get it done right. There we go. That's what it was. What's up, Lisa Houston? Catherine Todd says, can't wait to do this turtle painting. Awesome, Catherine. Me neither. We're going to have some fun today. Simple little painting. We just need a few colors, nothing too crazy. What's up? What's up, Phil? How's it going, buddy? How are you, man? Thank you for jumping by and jumping on and saying hello. Angela Helmick. Yes, this video will be available. So the live session is being recorded, right? We're streaming to both YouTube and to Facebook, and it is being recorded. As soon as the live is over, it will be available on both platforms. So immediately afterwards, you can jump on either on my Facebook or on my YouTube, and you'll be able to catch the recording. Okay, so if you guys see anybody jump into the comments and ask that question as we're painting, a lot of times I'll miss those. I won't see everyone's comment. If you guys could just let them know, yes, Jesse said the video will be available immediately after the live session is over. Okay, so what's up, Charlene Hofart? How's it going? No worries, Angela. My pleasure. My pleasure. What's up, Amy? How's it going? Come on, Amy. Come on. I know. I'm just kidding. Thank you. And yeah, whenever you get a chance, come on back. Paint with us. Okay. All these videos are waiting for you. So whenever you want to come back and catch up. Jennifer Mitchin from Ohio. Can't wait to paint. Awesome, Jennifer. Kathleen Potter says, oh, dang, I wasn't ready, so I have to do the video. But turtles are my favorite. No worries, Kathleen. So as you guys know, if you guys looked at the instructions or the details under the About tab on the main event page for today's painting, it talks about how this is going to work. I'm going to be teaching you how to draw the turtles, but some of you are choosing to use the stencil that I made available. If you don't have the stencil and want to use that, I did list it under the discussion board on that event page. Under the discussion board, you'll find that stencil. Otherwise, you can email me at paintingwithjesse@gmail.com, paintingwithjesse@gmail.com, and I'll email that stencil over to you, okay? All right, Heather says, ready to go from North Carolina. I'm a huge turtle fan with a turtle decor house. Awesome, Heather. Yeah, we're going to have some fun today. What's up, Astrid? How's it going? Welcome back. Haven't seen you on here for a little while. Thank you for stopping by. Hopefully you're going to be painting with us today. Yeah, it's a pretty easy drawing part. There's nothing too crazy or too difficult about those turtles. I make it pretty simple when we get to that point. So don't stress too much if you if you don't have the stencil available. Just draw along with me. Or you could always do this. Paint along, include everything but the turtles. Watch me draw the turtles, practice drawing your own turtles, and then draw them on your canvas, okay? Or whatever it is that you're going to be drawing on. You know what? Give me 1 quick second. I need to grab my pencil. We're not going to start with the drawing at the beginning. We're going to paint for a little bit, and then we're going to come back to the drawing part of it, okay? So again, I just want to repeat that. Whoop. We're going to be painting for a little bit first. We're going to paint that background. And then once we have most of the background done, we're going to come in and add those turtles towards the end. Okay, so we're not going to be doing any drawing at the beginning, but I am going to be drawing. Actually, I might even use white chalk. We'll see. But I do have a pencil ready. You can use whatever you've got available. but you want to make sure it's something that you can erase with pencil, chalk, charcoal, that kind of stuff. So I'm going to be painting on an 11 by 14 inch canvas. Of course, if you got a different size canvas, you can adjust it. Okay, you can adjust yours to. You're just going to change the ratios of the turtles, etc. But all right, everybody, it is 2 p.m. here on the West Coast. It is time to get going with our little painting. My name is Jesse. You guys are on my Painting with Jesse page here on Facebook and on YouTube. I am streaming this to both. Remember, on YouTube, you can back it up. You can pause the live video, then jump back ahead to the live portion of it whenever you'd like. Facebook does not allow you to do that. If you're watching this on Facebook, just know that Facebook will not allow you to pause or back up, etc. Okay, YouTube gives you a few extra advantages to watching it there, but not to worry either way. As soon as we're done with the live stream today, the video will be available immediately afterwards, so you can watch the recorded session. All right, so let's talk about materials, supplies that we're going to be using today. I've already mentioned I'm using an 11 by 14 inch canvas. 11 by 14, same size as what the original is on. You get to use whatever you've got, whether it's canvas, multimedia paper, cardboard, wood, etc., etc. It's all good. I'm painting with acrylics. Okay, I'm using acrylic paints, and I've got some very basic colors. I've got some black. Okay, I got some black here. I'm going to be using some white. Okay, I'm also going to be mixing those two colors, black and white, to make the gray area on the lower portion of the canvas, kind of the background. So I'll be making a little bit of gray with that black and white. Okay, then of course I've got some blue. Okay, a little bit of blue here. We'll be using that for the entire background, and then I think that's it. 3 colors: blue, white, black, and we can mix those a little bit to create different colors. Okay, but again, there's not a whole lot on here. On the original painting, I've got black, gray, blue, and white. Maybe a little bit of light blue where the blue background and the white mixed together. Okay. Cindy DeSoto, welcome back from Pico Rivera. Then what I do, I've already got my paints spread out on my plate, poured out on my plate. So blue, white, black, those are the colors that I'll be using. I do have an extra plate where I'll be mixing colors. Okay, I always like to mix colors on a separate plate, although I could probably mix them here and get it, and no problem. There's a lot of space on this plate, and I'm not using many colors. Okay, paper towels, very good to have handy because messes will happen. Well, let me change my view here. I'll change it here in just a moment. Messes will happen, right? We sometimes need these to clean brushes, but also to clean up any messes that might happen as we paint. I've got a select few brushes. These are just the recommended. You don't need to have these exact brushes. Okay. As long as you got something close, you're good. You'll be okay. Whoops, wrong one there. Hold on, let me switch. I've got a 1-inch flat brush. Okay, 1-inch flat brush. Basically, I'll be doing the background with this one here. Okay, I've got a number 8 flat brush. Remember, folks, the numbers that I give you are just basic. You don't need to have these exact ones. I've got a number 4, actually number 5. Filbert. It's basically the brush with a rounded head. It's nice and thin when you look at it from the top, but nice and rounded when you look at it from the side. Okay, if you don't have that, a small square brush will be okay. And then lastly, I've got a number 3 round brush to draw my turtles with, to draw some of the stuff down here on the bottom. The fine detail stuff will get done with a number 3. Actually, I've also got a little 0 round brush that will come in probably a little better to work with than the number 3. But all right, here we go. Let's get moving. Let me change the view here. There we go. That way you guys get a real good shot of what it is that I'm doing. So the way this works, for those of you that might be new to the page or the YouTube channel, I outline a step on my end, and we're going to get going with the background here pretty quickly. So I do a step, then I give you guys a little time to implement it on your end. Okay, so on and so forth. I jump to the next step, then I give you guys a little time to implement that step on your end. In between steps, I look at the comment section, say hello, answer questions, and that sort of thing. First off, if you guys are new here, first timers to the page, please leave a comment. Let me know where you're painting from, and then also who you're painting with. And if you're an old timer, you've been around for a little bit, same thing. Let me know where you're painting from and who is painting with you. I believe we've got lots of adults and kiddos hanging out today, so welcome to all of you. I'm super happy that you're here. But all right, here we go. First thing we're going to do is we're going to work the entire background first. So we're going to do the entire background in that light bluish color that I've got. Now, if you've got a green, feel free to change up your colors however you'd like. Customize the piece however you want. It's up to you if you'd like to change it up a little bit. Get creative with it. But the first thing that I'm going to be doing is I'm going to work in the background. All of it is going to be in this blue. So what I'm going to do is this. I'm just going to bring some of this over to the bottom of my plate. I'm not going to use my mix plate at this moment. I'm just going to do this. I bring a lot of that blue down to the bottom. I'm going to take my brush. Oh, other thing that I've got, forgot to mention, a little rinse cup. Okay, I've got a rinse cup here. I got some water in it. In between steps, my brush sits inside the water cup. All of my brushes, as they get used, they'll sit in the water cup so that the paint does not dry out on the brush. It can ruin the brush. So what I'm doing right now is I'm just taking that brush, I dip it into my water cup, bring some of that water over, and I just blend that water in really nicely. So water cup, dip your brush in it, and then bring that water over and blend it in, okay, with your paint. Next thing is I'm going to do this. I'm going to start painting these long horizontal brush strokes. Again, we're doing the background. The entire background is going to get done first. We'll do the turtles later. Towards the end is when we draw those turtles. Okay, so if you're going to be using that stencil that I provided, you'll want to have that cut out and ready to go. Or I know some of you probably drew or traced those turtles onto your background first, and now you have to paint around them. No big deal. Just get your paint around those turtles. But towards the end, I will be showing you how to draw those. I'm going to draw those right on my canvas for those of you that want to follow along. Now, the way that I'm going to do it is, sorry, the way I recommend it. Let's say you're going to draw it freehand with me, but you're a little bit, you know, some people get a little nervous about their drawing skills. Maybe they're not really refined, or you haven't had a lot of practice. You might want to watch me first, and then come back to the recorded session and maybe draw the turtles with that. You can always practice as much as you want on some scratch pieces of paper first, and then go for it on your canvas. If you want to stretch yourselves a little bit, I know for those of you that downloaded the stencil or asked me to email you the stencil, if you want to stretch yourselves a little bit, maybe work on your skills, practice drawing. Even if you're going to use the stencil for your painting, practice drawing that on a scratch piece of paper. It won't hurt. You might surprise yourself. You might go, oh my gosh, my turtles came out pretty good, pretty nice. And then you'll decide to do them on your painting. Okay. But again, top to bottom with this background color. Now you guys all saw that I did long horizontal brush strokes, left to right, right to left, as I'm doing here. You could, if you want, you could go vertically. You could go like this, up and down instead. Okay, that will work. You could also do little short, choppy lines like this, different directions. If you want a nice smooth background though, you want the long, either vertical or horizontal brush strokes. That'll give you a nice, smooth, I like to call it cleaner, more even background, but any of those will work. Whatever you decide on though, you want to stay consistent throughout your entire background. So if you're doing these long horizontal lines like me, you want to stick to those the whole way through, right? If you're doing the vertical strokes all the way across from side to side. If you're doing the short little choppy ones, then same thing, all consistent throughout, okay? So that's the recommendation. Now I'm going to take, since I'm painting on a canvas, I like to paint my edges. So I'm going to go ahead and do the top edge and then the sides. Now, a couple of things, depending on the type of acrylic paint that you're using, there are different consistencies of paint. Some of you might be using thicker or more what you call full-bodied paints. Those tend to be a little bit harder to work with sometimes, and you might have to add a little bit more water to your mixture. So simply take your brush. If you're having a hard time, if you're going like this and your paint isn't going on nice and smooth like you saw mine doing, you want to take a little bit of water, add it to your brush, dip your brush in the water, bring that over to your paint. So you would dip your brush into the water cup, bring that on over to your plate so that that water blends in really nicely. Now my water is a little bit dirty. I was painting earlier. There's a little bit of green in there, so it's changing color of my paint just a little bit, but I'm all right with that. But again, if you have a thicker paint and you're having a hard time getting that to spread across your canvas, make sure you add a little bit more water to it. You don't want runny paint, though, not for this step. Okay, if you have a more flowy paint, an easier paint to work with, when you spread it on your canvas, it seems to go on nice and easy, then just a little bit of water will do. There we go. And then there are some acrylic paints that you don't have to add any water to whatsoever. Okay. Now, if you notice, I did my left edge, I did the top edge, I did the right edge, and I didn't do the bottom edge, right? I didn't do underneath. That will not get done until the very last step. The reason why I don't do it now, for those of you that haven't been painting with me for a while, if I do it now and I put the canvas back on the easel, the canvas will get glued to that easel and can be a little hard to take off. All right. But anyway, all right, guys, you guys got about 2 minutes. So let's get caught up with this step. We are going to be painting for approximately an hour and 15 minutes on today's session. If that's too long for you, paint for as long as you can. If you have to take off partway through, no worries. Remember that the recorded video will be available right after the live is over. So let's look at those comments. Let's see what we got today. We got Donna. Hey, what's happening, Donna? Welcome back. Anita Beechler. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly. She says, I have quite a few paintings to catch up to. Getting more supplies and schoolwork is almost done, and my summer of paintings begins. Awesome, Anita. Sounds fantastic. Diane Layton says, good afternoon. I'm not painting today. I'm going to follow you and trace the turtle. Fantastic. Sounds good. Sounds good. Teresa, if you're still having problems, you might want to try to exit. Let's see, looks like you're watching from, hang on a second. Where'd you go? Oh, from Facebook. You might want to exit the feed and then come back in, okay, if you're still having problems. Exit and come back in. Usually that'll clear up any audio or video issues. Sometimes the app itself, if you're on your phone or even your app on the computer, or sorry, the platform that you're using can be problematic. Just exit, come back and try it again. What's happening, Yanni Rowe from Puerto Rico? Welcome. Thank you for hanging out today. Christy and Tristan from Richmond, Virginia. Hi, guys. Welcome. Thank you for hanging out with us and painting today. Phyllis from Columbus, Ohio. What's happening, Phyllis? All right. So about another 30 seconds here. Okay. And what we're going to do in just a moment is we're going to go ahead and start painting actually the highlights. All these white lines that you see coming down, the sunlight coming into the water from above, that's what we're going to be adding next. Now, the paint on my canvas is still wet. Perfect, because that's what I want. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and, oh, really quickly, I have a little tin here that I have a little water in. Once I'm done with one of my brushes and I rinse it, so that big brush that I just used, I don't think I'll be using it again for well, maybe the bottom part, the black part below. We'll see. But for now, I'm going to take my brush. I'm going to stick it inside this tin like this. It's sitting at an angle. It's got a little bit of water down there, a little bit of water at the bottom. Okay, and so I do that to help preserve the brush instead of it sitting straight down in the water cup with all the pressure or the weight of that handle pushing down on the bristles. Having it sitting in that tin at an angle is a little bit easier on the brush and helps it last a little bit longer. What's happening? Mary Ciotti says, can't find the list of supplies, size of brushes, colors, size of canvas. All right, Mary, so if you go back to the event page under the discussion board, you'll see two tabs. You'll see an about tab, you'll see an about tab, and you'll see a discussion board. I listed all that information at the bottom of the discussion board, and then also if you click on the about tab, you should be able to see all of those details, okay? And then, yep, looks like Shane and Charlene Brower's putting the information as far as the colors on the in the comment section. Also, at the very beginning of the video, I talked about the supplies. You can go over to the YouTube feed, and it'll allow you to go right back to the beginning of the video and watch it right from the start there. Okay, so switching brushes now. I'm going over to my 1/2 inch flat. Okay, got this little 1/2 inch. I like to use synthetic bristle brushes. And you can also use, if you have a smaller one, actually, you know what? I'm going to use my little filbert, my little number 4 filbert. Okay. So what I'm going to do with this, I'm going to take a little bit of white. I'm going to start with a little bit of white, very little. Don't need a lot. Okay. What I'm going to start to do here is right here at the center. I'm just going to start making little streaks, long streaks like this. I don't need a lot of paint for this. Okay. Don't start with a little tiny amount. So as you can see, it looks kind of like it fans out like this, right? As you go over this way to the right, you're angling your brush strokes like this. And when you go the other way, you're angling them in the other direction. Okay, start slowly, start lightly with your paint, and then you're just going to start to overlap in a little bit. First, we start like this, a little bit at a time, some thinner. But as you're working your way up, keep angling your lines so that when you get up to the top, right, they start to do this. They almost start to run parallel with the top of your canvas. Okay, and then again, other direction. Remember, a little bit. I barely have any paint on my brush at the moment. This part here requires quite a bit of layering. Now, if your canvas still has some wet paint on it, that's okay. This white will start to blend in with the blue below, creating some really cool effects. So a little bit at a time, like I said, thick ones, light ones, thin ones. You can use the skinny part of your brush or the broad part of your brush. I would recommend doing both. Also, you can take a little bit of water, okay? A little bit of water and add that to your paint. I'm going to keep adding these here in just a moment, okay? I'm going to keep on adding. I'm taking a little bit of clean water since the water in my brush, in my cup, is a little bit dirty. I'm just going to pour out a little bit of clean water here on the side. So what I want to do now is I'm going to take a little bit of water, okay? So again, I dip my brush into the water. I bring that over to my plate. I grab a little bit of white and I mix the two together. So white and some water. Mix in really, really well. Again, I want to be careful with how much paint I keep on that brush when I go to add it to the canvas. Okay. And here we go. Adding a little bit of water will change the type, or sorry, not the type, but it'll change the transparency. It'll thin out your paint a bit. It'll make it a little bit transparent, and it'll also allow you to make these lines a little bit more easily. Now it's up to you how many of these lines you're going to be adding. On the original, I have quite a few, creating a really nice, bright sunlight effect. Once I get a bunch of these in there, then I can start working a little bit more quickly. Again, if you're just like when we were working with that background, if you're struggling at all to get that paint to spread across that canvas, add a little bit of water to it, to your mixture. Don't need a lot, just a little bit. You don't want runny paint. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take, same thing, a little bit of water, bring that over to my mixture, to my white mixture, still working with that white paint. I'm going to take a little bit of that blue for that background. Don't need a lot, just a little bit. And then I mix the two together. So I'm making a really nice light blue, okay? Then what I'll do with that, just going to put some of those in there as well. It's a really subtle change, but it does make a little bit of a difference. So I'll apply this like this, going back and forth until my brush starts to run out of paint. When it's almost completely out is when I go back and grab some more. By doing that, by letting the brush run out of paint as I'm doing this, as I'm going across, applying this paint, what that does is it allows me to create different brush strokes of different intensities in that background. So here we go, a little bit more water. A little bit of blue. Okay, and here we go again. So it's up to you how intense the light coming down is going to be on yours. Some of you probably are going to have a little bit of this. Some of you are going to have a whole bunch. Some of you may decide not to add any of this. It's all good. So I'm just going to add a few more of these. Now, as we're doing this, the bottom part of our canvas, all this down here where I'm not adding any paint, is drying. Okay, which is going to allow us in just a little bit to go over and start creating that gray background back there. Okay, let me work a little bit over on this side. Looks like I didn't add anything over here. I want to make sure I add that. Add some streaks over there as well. Now I'm going to bring some of these lines a little further down. Okay, like this, long brush strokes. They almost go down to the very bottom edge of the canvas. All right. That looks about right. I might take just white paint now, no mixture. I didn't mix any white in it, and add a few really intense ones. Just a few. Now, again, I'm using my filbert brush. If you've got a little square one if you don't have a filbert, but you have a little square, flat, maybe like a 3 or 4 or 5, you can use that. You can also use one of your small round brushes for this. You can use an angular brush for this. You don't have to use a filbert. Okay, let me take a step back. Let me look at my painting here. Let me look at my handiwork. That looks pretty good. I could maybe use a little bit more intensity up in there, but we can always add that in a little bit. Okay. All right. So you guys got about a minute and a half, 2 minutes to work on that. Okay. I'm sure some of you jumped on. What's up, Robin? Good. You made it. Fantastic. Rosa from Pennsylvania. How's it going? Jill. What's up, Jill? Let's see. Lorraine Gonzalez. Hi from Elizabeth City, North Carolina. First time painting with you. Awesome, Lorraine. Thank you for coming and painting today. Got a good little group hanging out for this it turned out to be a super popular little painting. Lots of turtle fans out there. So pretty dang cool. What's up, Kathy? How are you? Hi, Carol. Janelle Bingham Bauer. How's it going? Awesome. First timer. Cool. Tina Brandt from Ontario, Canada. Charlene says first time here from North Dakota. Awesome, Charlene. All right, guys. So work on that for a little bit. So Jennifer, are you talking about the sunflower one right here? So last week we did this one for those of you those of you that are new to the page. We did this last week. Let me blow this up a little bit. Okay, this was quite a bit more complex, many more steps involved in this one than the one we're doing today. But this video is still available, as are all the videos, about 100 of them now. Got about 100 tutorials on the Painting with Jesse page. If you guys are interested in checking those out, go over to the live tab on the main Painting with Jesse page here on Facebook. So if you go to my Facebook page, Painting with Jesse, at the very top, there's a tab that says live. You click on that and you'll see the library. There's about 100 videos now, everything from over the past year. Okay, if you guys are interested, go check those out. Lots of fun ones. So we got that. We got this little pair of giraffes. I'm not sure if this is within the shot. I think it is. Little pair of giraffes. Got the gnome. Got the beach with the dandelions and little hearts in the sand. Got the tulips piece. Got the hummingbird, the umbrella, the horses. Those two in the corner down there are not part of those yet. Those are coming. But anyway, if you guys are interested, go check those out. Okay. Yanni Rowe, first time here too. I don't paint, but my daughter does, and we are doing it together. Hopefully it turns out okay. You guys will be okay, Yanni. Okay. Also, don't forget, everyone, please, when you're all done, send me pictures of your masterpieces. Okay. What you'll do if you're on Facebook, you'll send them to me via Messenger here on Painting with Jesse. Okay. Attach it to your message. Say, hey, Jesse, we painted today. Here's our painting. And then if you're on YouTube, you can email those to me at paintingwithjesse@gmail.com. Okay. And then what I do is I'll take a batch of your paintings, all the ones that I get, and then I'll post them up on my Facebook so that everybody gets a chance to see how everyone did. All right, everyone. So for now, even if you're not completely done with those streaks, let's leave them alone for a moment. We're going to start working on the background here, the gray in the background over here. Okay. We're going to work on all of that first. Afterwards, you get a chance to look at your streaks again, your sunlight, and to see if you need to make any adjustments. Maybe you want to add some more. Okay, but for now, we're going to switch over and work on that gray background. So I mentioned at the beginning that for that, we're going to be using a little bit of black and some gray. So I'm switching over to my number 5 flat brush. Looks kind of like this. Okay, old little synthetic bristle brush. So I'm going to use my mix plate. Okay, remember I have that extra plate. I'm going to grab a bunch of white here. I'm going to transfer that over. Okay, so white. Now I'm going to bring some black over too, but I'm not going to bring a lot. Here's how I do this. I will bring this and put it over to the side. I don't immediately grab that black and bring it and mix it in with the white. Okay, what I do is this. I've got the two colors here next to each other. I'm going to take lots of this white, and yes, of course, they mix in right there, right? No big deal. Just scooping this and bringing it over, some of it. Then I start to introduce a little bit of black at a time. Okay, what I want to do is I want to make a nice kind of light gray, not too light, something in the middle, medium gray, let's say. So there's about the gray that I want. Okay, but I'm also going to take just a little bit of that original blue for the background, a little bit of that. Same blue that I just used for the black background. I'm going to bring that over here and I'm going to mix it in a little bit at a time. Now this is not going to be enough to cover, or not likely to be enough to cover the entire area that I'm going to use this on. So I want to make sure that I mix enough so I don't run out part way. If we do run out, then you mix some more. Okay, but you know, sometimes that can be a little tricky to mix the same color. So I want to try to avoid that. So a little bit more blue, just a hint. I just want a little hint of that blue in there. All right, that looks pretty good. Now I take my brush, dip it in my water cup. So I bring some of that water over. Don't need a lot, just enough to get this mixture nice and flowy, if that's a word. But all right, here we go. So I've got my gray. Let me raise the neck on my easel a little bit. Get this under my canvas. So here we go. Here we go. Okay. We're going to go right here. So what I'm about to start on is this edge over on the side. Okay, this little gray area that you can see right in there. Now that's probably on my 11. So this is an 11. So 11 by 14-inch canvas. So it's 14 inches wide, 11 inches high. This is almost halfway up. Okay, so let's say that this is about 4.5 inches, maybe 5 inches or so. But we'll go, so about right here. Then I'm just going to bring that over. Now this is a little bit lighter than what's on the original. I probably will darken it up a little bit more. All I'm doing is creating a nice little outline, a rough outline of what that background is going to look like. It's better to start lower, smaller, and you can make that a little bigger if you need to. So what I am going to do real quickly though is I'm going to go ahead and take a little bit more black to darken this gray a bit more. Just want it a little bit darker. And it doesn't have to be a perfect blend, meaning I could leave this a little bit streaky. Okay, meaning I can see some gray in there, I can see some black in there, all good. Then I'm going to take a little bit more blue, just a little bit. And same thing, I can leave it streaky. And just to clarify what I mean by that is that my paint, the color here isn't completely a one solid color. I see some blues in there, I see some grays and a little bit of black, perhaps a little bit of white. So there we go. Here we go again. So again, all I'm doing, there we go. That's a better color. More of what I like, more of what I want here. So I'm just making the general outline for that background. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and fill this all in. So here I don't worry about making really long, smooth brush strokes. I'm just using kind of the short, choppy brush stroke. It is the ground, right? The sea floor that we're painting in. And I'm sure it could be some, smooth in some areas and choppy in others. So you just kind of decide on your own how you want to make yours. This front part down at the bottom is going to get covered up and blackened a little bit. So just keep that in mind. If you're newer to painting, this is a really good painting to start with because it's simple, even though it looks a little bit complicated. It might look a little complicated to a newer painter, but it's pretty basic. You learn some good basic painting technique and some basic painting fundamentals with this piece. A little bit of color mixing, a little bit of adding the water to your mixture, what brushes do what, that kind of thing. Okay, so I'm going to take this gray and I'm going to wrap it around the edge of my canvas. Usually I like to whatever I paint on the front, I turn it around, add it to the edges. Again, we're not worried about that bottom edge for now. We'll add that, we'll fix that later. All right, there we go. I'm done with this brush for the moment. Goes back into my rinse cup, sits there for just a little bit. You got it, Christy. Have a good evening. Okay, thank you for stopping by. Crystal says Lexi and I are sipping painting. Awesome. Sipping painting is the best. Donna from Oklahoma. How's it going? Janelle Bingham Bauer. You got it. All right, so work on that for just a little bit. Okay, in a moment, we're going to add some of the detail that you see in that background, like that little, that vegetation that's back there, some of the stuff over to the edges. We're going to be adding that in just a moment. Okay. Now, it's always better to, when you're working something like that into a painting, to make it smaller to begin with, because if it's too small and you want to fix that, you want to make it bigger, that's an easy change to make. If you start too big on that, to fix that, you have to remove paint, and that can be pretty tricky. It can be done, but it can create some problems for you. So take about a minute, and then we're moving on. And sorry if I'm gulping in your ears. But okay, I'm switching brushes here. I'm going to go ahead and grab my number 3 round, a little round brush right here, a little pointy thing. We're going to add some of these details in the background. Okay, some of the stuff that you see back there, that's what's coming. We're working with the same color. Okay, still working with that gray that we created. I'm just going to dip my brush into my water cup. I'm going to bring that over. Now I want to add that to my, I know there's already water in this mixture, but I want to add a little bit more. Okay, water will also help us make thin, skinny lines like we're about to make. Now, what I like to do with these round brushes when I'm going to work something like that vegetation that's back there, before, as I pull that paint from the plate, I'll spin the brush. What that does is it'll make the point a little bit skinnier, okay? Making it easier for me to make smaller lines. So here we go. We'll start with this guy back here, little guy that's hanging out in the back. So what I'm doing, I'm painting on an easel. I put my hand here on my table, and I take my painting hand, put it right over the hand like that, stabilizes my hand a little bit, okay, and then it makes it easy for me to maintain my brush stroke. Another thing that I can do is I can take my pinky and go like this, and then I also can stabilize my hand. I won't do this right now because if I do this as I come down, I'll put my finger into the wet paint. So instead, I'm going to use this. Put my hand here, get right across the top about here. Want to leave some space above this for the turtles. Okay, so a little line that comes down. Nice and easy. Okay. The more pressure I apply to the brush, the thicker the line becomes. So there's that. Then over on the other side, I'll come like this. Okay. All right. Now keep in mind, you're going to have a little turtle up here somewhere, another little turtle over here somewhere. So you want to make sure you leave enough space. Now I can make this, I can add a little bit of a hill, right? A little hill. Maybe this is like on a little mound or something. So I'm just adjusting the floor beneath. Again, because I made it following the rule of make it small and then adjust if you need to. That's what I'm doing right now as we go. Just making little adjustments to my floor. Just a careful way of doing this type of a painting. Okay. All right. So this looks lighter right here, but when it dries, it's going to get darker. All right, here we go. Next step. Same paint, right? Same brush. Maybe over here, I got these little guys right here. Right here. Feel free to make as many of these or as few of these as you want. It's your painting. Get creative with it. Maybe yours is going to have some fish floating around near the turtles or back in the distance. Maybe there's a squid or a shark in yours. So, you know, you get to do whatever you want with your painting. Make it yours. Okay. So yeah, keep in mind that your paint, depending on how thin you made it, or if you mixed a lot of water with it, or even just the consistency of that paint, it might be a little bit transparent. That's okay. You may have to do a second layer over the top of it once it dries. So let's say that my layer here of paint was transparent. I would let it dry. I would even work on my black area in the front. I could, okay? And then once this gray area is dry, come in and add another layer over the top, okay? So that's one way to approach that. Now, on my original, I do have a little bit of a transparent nature on that gray in the background, and it still works. So I wouldn't worry too much about that because that black in the front is going to draw your eyes away from that area in the back. As long as it's only a little bit transparent, you're going to be okay. But if it's too transparent, you want to change that, then you would let this dry a little bit and then come over with a second layer. And I would probably do that first before you add the black in the front. Okay, so it's a couple of ways that you can approach that. But all right, let's continue here. Next step, same mixture, same brush, a little bit of water in my paint. I'm just going to come up over here, over on that side, got that long one, pops up over the top there. Just going to go like this, come down. Okay. Just a little vegetation in the background, floating in that water. So if you guys notice, this little area in here looks like it's drying a little bit lighter than the rest of my background. That's because I thinned this out with a little bit more water than the original. And that's okay too. Water can thin out the color in your paint, making it lighter, but that works. It's the sea floor. It doesn't have to be all perfect and uniform in color. Okay, so if you have some variation in there, go with it. Even though I wasn't expecting this, it still works perfectly fine. Okay, so I'm not worried about having to fix that. But all right. Moving on over to the side, this big old clump that's back there, the gray clump that's in that background. I'm going to start right in here. Remember, you got some turtles that you're going to be adding to this, so be careful how high up you go. You don't want to go super high. So this one just has a few little, almost like tendrils. Again, putting my hand on the table here. It almost looks like I'm drawing a hand. There's a hand coming out of the ground. We'll fix that here in just a bit. Just adding a little bit more width at the base. Remember, painting is about making adjustments as you go. What you envision at the beginning might change slightly as you're going along. Perfectly fine. You do not have to start with the entire idea of your painting all figured out at the start. You can have a general idea. You can even have it. What I like to do often is when I'm going to paint something new, something that let's say I'm creating something from scratch, right? And I've got an idea. I will block out. Let's say I'll take a sheet of paper and make a bunch of little rectangles or squares, depending on what I'm going to be painting on. Usually canvas, but I'll make some squares on a blank white sheet of paper, good size, maybe like this, let's say. And inside those squares, I imagine each one of those squares is a canvas, and inside of that, I'll do a little tiny sketch of what the painting is going to look like, the general idea around the painting. And what that does is that it gives me perspective. It gives me the layout. And sometimes that really, actually not sometimes, that really helps me figure out what it is that I'm going to paint. But even then, you'll have an idea what you're painting and then you start, and it's like partway through, you start changing things around a little bit. That's okay. And this is more and more, this is looking like a pair of hands coming out of the ground. Kind of like it. But this is more of a Halloween painting right now. Anyway, all right, so work on that for a little bit. Maybe over here I'm gonna add one of these little spiky things coming out of the ground. And I'm almost done with this gray background in just a moment. I'm going to look at the streaks in the sky up here in the, with the sunlight coming through, and I might add a few more of those as this gray dries a bit. Okay, there we go. Let's take a look at those comments. What's up, Danielle? Says, can't wait to paint this on Friday when school's completely done with. We have so many end of the year events this week. Awesome, Danielle. The video will be waiting for you, so don't stress about it. Okay, don't stress too much. Come on over and paint with the recorded session. Okay, and then Catherine says, turtles are one of my favorite creatures. Yeah, I was surprised at how popular this painting turned out to be. Lots and lots of turtle fans out there. So very cool. Nice little surprise. When I picked this, I picked it because I saw, in my head, I'm like, it's summer, as I started looking at pictures of summer stuff, I saw some turtles and other sea animals, and I'm like, we'll do some turtles. And, yeah, pleasant surprise, much more popular than I expected. Awesome, Emma and Bella and Emily. Awesome. Newbies. Woohoo. Speaking of newbies, I don't know if it's your first time painting today. It says you're a newbie on there, but if you guys, again, just want to point this out. This is the one we did last week. For those of you that are just kind of hanging out or stopping by briefly, this video, for those of you that are sunflowers and bees fans, got the tutorial for this up, and it's waiting for you to go to paint this. This is the one we did live last week. You'll find it under the live tab on the main Painting with Jesse page here on Facebook. It's also on my YouTube page. Okay. But all right. Awesome, Yenny's daughter. Awesome. Hope you're having fun. But okay, so let's continue here. Like I said, I was going to look up at my sky here for a moment and add a few little touches, just add a few more lines in there. This time I'm switching to a slightly larger, I'm going with my flat brush. Instead of using that filbert that I used earlier, I'm using this number 8 flat brush. I'm going to grab a little bit of paint here. Excuse my voice, it's a little bit rougher than usual. Just have it a little dry. That's what it's feeling like. Not going through a puberty or anything like that. That happened a long time ago. Anyway, a little bit of paint here. It's coming through here. I added a little bit of water to my mixture. A little bit of water, a little bit of paint. Just coming on, and some more streaks in there. Just kind of finding little spots in between some areas that don't have any or little separations between. Ooh, I just lost my my vent. I have an air conditioning unit in here in my studio. Better give me one quick sec, folks. Just got to turn off my air. So I have a vent that goes up into the ceiling. So my studio is in a professional building in town, and the air. So I piped the vent up into, to the area above the ceiling. Well, that just came down. So I'm gonna have to fix that. All good though. Just might get a little warm in here because I had to turn my air off. But all right, let's continue here. Just adding more streaks. Again, I'm finding little sections in between some of the streaks that I added earlier, and just applying a few more of these. The more you do it, the brighter your picture becomes. You get more density in these lines coming in. Now some of you might find that if you were using a filbert brush earlier and you switched it up, you're using one of those small square brushes, flat brushes. It's actually technically called a flat brush. It looks like a little square or rectangle. As long as your area on top is nice and thin, you might find that this is easier to do it with one of these. There's not always just one brush you can use whenever you're selecting a brush to use. You can use a couple, sometimes 2, 3 different types of brushes and create a similar effect. Sometimes people will ask me, hey, what brush should I use for this? And I can tell you the brushes that I use, right? And technically, those are usually the brushes that most artists would use, but you will find that other brushes can create something similar, and perhaps even for you, depending on the user, you might even be more comfortable with a less orthodox or commonly used brush. All right. There we go. I like that. Really bright. What's happening, Kinkini? Welcome, welcome. So now I'm just going to take a few of these really light lines and just bring them down a little bit further. Just bring them down. I don't know. I don't want to touch the gray, right? Because if the gray is wet, I'm going to grab that with my brush and I'm going to bring it up. So I want to be careful as I'm doing this. I just approach the gray. I just want to bring these down a little bit further, down into the corners and the edges of my canvas. Again, be careful though, because if your paint is still wet, the gray paint, you might accidentally pick some of that up and then bring it up into your sunlight. Almost done here, at least with this step. Okay, here we go. Next step. All right, here we go, folks. Black, same brush. I'm actually going to stick with my little flat brush here. Now, again, depending on how thick your black paint is, the consistency of your paint, you might have to mix a little bit of water with it. Okay, so mine's a pretty flowy black paint. Now I'm going to start over here on the edge. I keep it low. Remember, smaller is better. You can always fix that later. Smaller is better to start with. Okay, so I'm just coming down right here. I'm making my horizon line. So the edge of the floor comes up, kind of does this, and then goes off to the side. Now I'm going to fill this up. Around to the other side. Now, today's little event here, this little painting session, is kind of an all ages painting event. And I know for those of you that have been following me for a while, you've been missing a lot of the more kid-centric events. A lot of you that followed me, started following the page because I was doing lots of the kids. I was doing both, but I was doing a lot more of the kid-centric events about 3 months ago. I'm going to start adding more of those to the calendar. Just a lot of stuff happening right now behind the scenes around my painting. And so it's been a little bit hectic, but I will be adding more of those to the calendar here pretty soon. Okay, so don't leave me. Stick around because definitely a lot more fun stuff coming around the corner. So I'm taking my black, I'm wrapping it around to the edge as well, both sides, right? Just like we did with the gray. Okay, so work on that for just a little bit. In a moment, we're going to start adding some of the black vegetation that you see coming out right there, okay? Yeah, so this is just black paint. I didn't add any water to it. You can, again, if your paint is a little bit thick, make sure you add a little bit of water to it to make it easier to work with. Hey, what's up, Jessica from Iowa? You're at work. Hopefully you're having a good day over there. All right, Kinkini. Yeah, don't forget to send me that. I thought you sent it already. I thought you already sent. Oh no, you sent me the sunflower painting. Yeah, send me your hummingbird painting. Okay, I need to add that. I haven't posted. Actually, I think I did. I'm trying to remember if I already did the post on the hummingbirds. But I think what I'm going to do is take the hummingbird pictures that I received and the sunflower ones that I received, combine those and put those all together on one big post. Okay. But all right, here we go. Let's add some vegetation. Switching over back, I'm going back to my number 3 round brush. Okay, again, a little skinny thing. Just going to clean it up a little. It was sitting in my water cup. Okay, I've got some black here on my plate. Water. I'm going to go ahead and grab my brush, dip it into that water, bring that over. Blend that in really well. All right, where am I going to start? Well, how about over here? I'm going to make one of those little spiky things like this one. So I start from the bottom and I work my way up. Bottom, work my way up. As I pull up, I pull away with my brush, and that helps make the end nice and pointy. So again, I just kind of do this. I pull up and away from the canvas. Okay. And the little density, maybe make it, overlap some of your little lines. Almost looks like a little tumbleweed, little tiny bit. Okay, there's that. This over here looks like a little pair of antlers coming out of the ground. So I take my round brush, I put a little pressure, I press down on against the canvas, I slowly pull out and away, and then I start to pull my brush away from the canvas. So as I pull away from the canvas, what happens? The line that I'm making gets a little bit skinnier. Okay, so here we go again. Press down on the canvas, start to pull down and away. As I do that, makes it nice and skinny. Okay. A little bit of coral, maybe. I don't have any coral on mine. I think maybe, yeah, I didn't put any actual coral, but that'd be a good addition. Definitely, coral would be nice. Could add a little coral on yours, and I think that would make it look really, really cool. How about this little thing that looks almost like a tree? Let's work on that here. Let's see. Right here, I'm gonna start with the base. Okay, a little line that comes up, and that right there could be this line in there. Okay, it's got a little offshoot, goes this way. Again, you pull away as you get to the end of your line or your branch. You pull away, and helps make it nice and pointy. Got a little one right here. Then we're going to work. Let's see, I'm going to pull that out a little further, just extend that out a little more. Okay. Right here, we're going to go up. Okay, that's what I got so far. And look, it will, Linda. Yep, absolutely. The video will be up. It'll be up for a couple of weeks at least. Maybe a month. Who knows? I don't know that I plan on removing. I've considered removing some of the videos, but this will be up for a while. You got some time to come back and paint with this. What's up, June? How are you? All right, so here we go. Next part of our little tree-ish vegetation thingy, underwater thingy. It's going to come up like this, goes back over, okay? And then right here, another one. Maybe a little branch that goes up like that, okay? And don't worry about trying to make, I think I forgot to mention this at the beginning. I usually do in my videos. Don't worry about trying to make an exact replica of what I'm making. Yours is most everyone's is gonna look a little different. They're gonna look different from mine. They're gonna look different from each other's. It's all okay. What matters is that you're enjoying the process, having a little fun. Everything else will fall into place. All right. There we go. So there's my little underground tree bush. Good, June. Fantastic. You got it, Ruth. My pleasure. All right. Next little step. I'm going to jump up to this right here. This guy right there. And for that, I'm going to reach over for my little zero, my little tiny skinny thingy here. Take a little bit more water. introduce that to my paint. The thinner the line or the smaller the thing that I'm more detailed thing I'm going to make, the more I add a little bit more water to my paint. Just makes it a little bit easier to work with. So right up in here, we got this guy right there. I'm going to draw a little center branch, nice and skinny. Okay. Let me give you a close-up of that. I know it's kind of far away. This right there. Little tiny skinny line. Now, I'm going to give you a close-up in just a moment. Let's add some leaves. A leaf right there. I'll give you a close-up in a sec, like I said. Give me just a little bit to make some of these leaves that are coming off of it. Okay, so here's what I'm doing. Okay, I paint the edges, I paint the outside, the outline, and then I fill it in. Now I'm going to try to do the next one, holding it up so you guys can see a close-up. So leaf comes out. Okay, then I fill it in. Leaf comes out, then I fill it in. And I can work my way all the way back down. Okay, all the way down that branch. Comes out. Think easy. They're just little lines. Okay, so something like this. Hi, Claire. How's it going? Marianne Burgos says I have to get ready for dinner, so I have to leave. We will continue later. Thank you so much. You got it, Marianne. Absolutely. Come on back. Okay, so there's that one. Give you a moment on that. We're almost getting ready for those turtles. Just a couple of more little bits for the vegetation, and we're moving over to those turtles. All right, next one. We're moving over a bit. I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to make this little area a little bit higher. Bring this up. Almost looks like I'm making a volcano. Switching brushes really quickly here so I can fill that in with paint. You notice I painted above the horizon line for the gray area behind, right? So I just worked my way up, came up a little bit higher. Now, that little guy right there looks almost like a weird kind of Christmas tree. Doing the outline first. I'll give you guys a close-up in just a second. If the Grinch was going to have a Christmas tree, that's what it would look like. Okay? So all I did was make the outline. Sounds good, Kinkini? Okay, so that's the outline. And then just going to switch brushes for a moment, just going for that number 3. Going to use that to fill in. Just like that. Kind of what that looks like. Okay. Then look at your painting when you're done with this. I have another one over here. I'm just going to add it really quickly. Just a little bit of vegetation that's coming up on that side. I've got one in here too, but I'm not worried about that one. Maybe we'll add it after we do some of those turtles. Okay. So, all right, work on that. You guys got about about a minute, and then we're going to get into drawing some turtles. Turtles are going to be fun. I'm going to turn. I'm not ready for it yet, but I'm going to turn the my canvas towards me a little bit. All right, guys. Like I said, about a minute, and we're moving on to those turtles. What's happening, Army? From let's see, Army Pangilinan Gonzalez from Houston, watching and listening from work. Woohoo! Sounds good. You have to come back and paint a little bit later. What's happening, Heidi? How are you? Hope you're doing great. And maybe you're painting along. At least not right now, maybe later or whatever. Let's see who else is on. Who else did I miss? Almost turtle time. That's it. Ooh, that's a good suggestion. So if you look over in the comments, guys, I'm a bit of a beginner. So for the other beginners out there that want to get their lines look good, I suggest acrylic paint markers. I use them all the time and my paintings turn out great. So acrylic paint markers allow you to make really skinny lines. Okay. So for those of you that are interested, that would be, you know, a good alternative to using brushes. Okay. But all right, let's talk about those turtles. So I'm going to be drawing my turtles with a pencil, basic pencil. Now, whenever I need to, I'm going to bring the canvas forward to give you guys a better view of what it is that I'm doing. Okay, because I'm painting in pencil, it might be a little tricky to see my outlines, but you're going to be okay. What's up, Nicole? Yeah, welcome back. Fantastic. Hi to you and your family. Hope you're all doing great. And definitely happy you guys are back and painting along. So what I'm going to do is this. I'm actually going to zoom in a little. Maybe instead of holding my canvas in my hand, I'm going to zoom in a little bit on the turtles so that it's easier for you guys to catch what I'm doing. Let's see. Let me see. Okay, that might work. So we're going to start with this turtle first. Okay, that's what I'm going to draw. Now that turtle is up in here somewhere. You can change the position of your turtles however you want. But I'm going to start right here. Okay, let me see. And I'm going to start with the body first. Now, if you're using your stencils and you're going to be tracing yours, this is where you would do it now, right? This is the point at which you do it. So anytime I'm going to draw something from scratch, I always break it down into the basic shapes. The biggest part on this turtle, of course, is the body. It looks like a giant eye. If you were to remove the legs, the flippers, and the head, you'd have one big, almost almond shape or eye shape. And that's what we're starting with. So here, it's going to make a big. Now, I start really light with my pencil lines until I have it the way I want it. Then I'll make it a little bit darker. So bear with me just a moment. Big giant almond or eyeball. Okay. If you're drawing yours in pencil, make sure you make yours really light. so that you can erase if you need to. Yes, Angel, absolutely. If your background is still really wet, uh, wait to do this. Wait for it to dry before you do this, okay? Absolutely, great question, and thank you for asking that. Folks, if you have any questions, please make sure you ask. I often forget to add some of the important detail. And if you have a question about something, others may have a similar question. They might just be a little too shy to ask. Please make sure you ask your question. This is a friendly environment, and nobody's going to say anything to you other than thank you for asking the question. All right. So there's my eyeball, right? Again, this is the shape of the body of the turtle. It's this in here. We're going to add the head next. And if you look at the head, it almost looks like a little arrow, or it's like a little triangle head, and then the little neck. So my neck's going to stick out a little, no pun intended. Again, nice and light so that you can erase. So there's my neck, okay, the little base of the neck. Okay, then I start with the head. I bring it out a little bit, so I angle out a little, come down. Okay, same thing kind of on the other side. Goes like this. And then you could make the little nose kind of pointed. Okay. Oh, good to know, Nikki. Okay. Great question, Nikki. Really great question. Again, if your background is dry, make sure that you let it, if your background is wet, make sure you let it dry before you start to draw over that, okay? All right, there's the head. Now let's look at the flippers. Let's start with the one on the bottom. So right from the neck, you come down a little bit. Comes out, you got a little line that comes out. I'll give you guys a close-up in a moment. Comes back down like this, and then angles back. So something like that, okay? Comes out, angles down, and then angles a little bit more. From here, you can bring it back. Okay. Hi, Angela. Angela and Julie. Okay, now the one on top. Kind of similar. Got a line that goes up, curves back, tucks back under, and then connects. Now they're not the same size. They could be, depending on your perspective. They might look a little different. They're just the silhouettes of the turtles, depending on how the turtle's moving. It's little flippers and stuff. They could look a little different in size. Let's go to the ones on the bottom. Bottom ones are a little easier. They just kind of go like this, almost like you're drawing a little an orange, little piece of orange. Okay. Over to the other side, same thing. Comes out, curves back, and then right back in. All right, there's one turtle. So it is practice. Remember, if you're a little bit leery about drawing these, just practice on a piece of paper first. Before you go to draw these on your actual canvas or whatever it is that you're painting these on, practice first. You want to get a little practice in. They're not that difficult. I guarantee you, once you try it a few times, you're going to be okay. Okay? So now I'm going to go ahead and show you guys. This is for those of you that already have your turtle stencil or drawn in. This is how you would do this. This is the easiest way, or one of the easier ways, to paint it, so you don't accidentally paint around or past your lines. We'll make the bigger one here in just a moment. So my little zero brush, little skinny pointy thing, right? It's good for making outlines and things like that. I make sure I introduce a few drops of water into the paint. Very important. Make sure you add water. If you don't, you're going to struggle a bit. Then the next thing is twirl your brush to make that point nice and skinny. What I like to do is I like to outline first. If your paint isn't flowing as easily as this, you need to add a little bit more water, okay? So I'm just outlining everything on this turtle before I start to add paint to the body. Okay. Now I can use the same brush. I'll probably be better if I switch to a slightly bigger brush. Just going over to my filbert, my number 5 filbert. Scoop up this paint. Now it makes it a little easier to work on the inside of these lines without worrying too much about painting past them. It's an easy thing to do, so be careful. Where you need to paint with the point of the bristles, so it makes your footprint on your canvas a little smaller. Okay, so there's one turtle. In a little bit, we'll come in and add the little highlights. They have a little bit of highlights on one side. Okay, so here comes the other turtle. Okay, let me see here. I'm going to bring this canvas in a bit. So we're making this one. Okay, and that one's going to sit right about here. The Wilsons, thank you, Jesse. 3 kids, ages 5, 7, and 7. Here painting with you, Elijah, Carmen, and Carmela. All right, Elijah, Carmen, and Carmela, thank you for hanging out today. Glad that you're hanging out painting. Hope you're having some fun. All right, this turtle right here. So real similar steps, right? The body first. So this one's going to come like this. The body's actually at an angle coming like that. So I can even draw a little line that goes like this. And this is really light. You guys probably can't see it because it's giving me the angle for that turtle. I can visually see how I want that turtle's body to stay angled. So, but start with the almond shape first. Nice and light to begin with. Just makes it safer because if you don't like something, you can easily erase it. So nice and light. Look at it. If you like it, now you can darken it in a little bit. Since it worked, so normally I don't darken in my pencil lines. I leave them really light. I'm making them a little bit darker so it's easier for you all watching to see them. But also, so the reason I don't lighten them up or darken them up normally is because when I paint over them, if I'm painting, if it's something that's lighter in color, let's say I'm using a light color to paint over this, since acrylic paint tends to be transparent, you can see those pencil lines coming through. And we don't want that. Okay, or we normally don't want that. All right, so there's the shape. Here comes the head. We start with the base or the neck. Comes up, goes into a little point. Okay, something like that, almost like we're making a little arrow. Right? The arms or the front flippers are pretty straightforward. Come out, goes over, curves back a little bit. Okay, goes into a little point, comes back up. Okay. Hi, Star. Welcome to you and your daughter. Fantastic. Fantastic. What's up, Hannah? How are you? Welcome back. Star, hope you and your daughter come on back and paint again. Okay. Lots of videos for you guys to watch in the library here on Painting with Jesse if you guys are interested. Lots of kid-centric ones. So I have about 100 videos 100 tutorials. Probably about 35, 40 of those are specifically for kids. Okay. All right. Flipper on top. So same thing, comes out, goes over, comes down, goes into a little point, goes back under, and then reconnects on the other side. Remember, folks, practice. If you just want to practice your drawing, these are really nice, simple drawings that you can work pretty quickly. They give you things like perspective, ratios. You know, you can work on symmetry. But the best thing is you get to practice, and you can do one of these little turtles, you know, in 5 minutes, right? Nothing too crazy about them. Back little legs. These are a little bit different because of the angle than these over here. Okay, but they're still similar. Adults that want to learn to draw oftentimes will look at a kid drawing and go, I don't want to, you know, it's probably not something I want to draw. But those are really, really good to get your feet wet with. Okay. Southern Darling, my pleasure. Abigail and Aubrey, how are you girls? Happy that you're here and enjoying the painting today. Pretty awesome. Okay, so we got the other turtle now, and so what do we do when we're going to paint it? We do the outline first. Again, paint and water. I still have some here on my plate that I can use. I'm just going to grab a little bit more water and bring it over. Just make sure I've got enough there. All right, here we go. I might have to mix some more. We'll see. But outline first. Okay, let me mix some more, a little bit more of this paint. So I scoop up some black paint, bring it over, dip my brush in the water cup, bring that over, 2, 3 of these. Okay. And again, in case you guys aren't noticing, my non-painting hand is sitting on the table. Excuse me. It helps stabilize my painting hand. I simply take my hand like this, put it right over the top, let it rest there, and it stabilizes my painting hand. I could also do it with my pinky. Put my pinky down on the dry area on the canvas here. Also helps to stabilize my hand. You could do it freehand like this with your hand kind of free floating, but this is definitely a lot trickier when you're trying to get small detail work like these lines all done. Okay. All right, back to my bigger brush. Load up the paint, and here we go. Okay. Just using my little brush here to come back and touch things up. All right. There we go. So in just a moment, after this dries, we're going to come back in there and add the little highlight here up on top. Okay. So here on this turtle, we got a highlight that sits right over the top of there. Also a little tiny one over the head and the flipper in the back. Let me give you guys a close-up of that so you get a better idea as to what I'm talking about. So right there, got a little highlight there, got a little highlight there over the top of the head. You can barely see it right there. And all I did for this is take some of the light, like the light blue, mixture of the blue and the white, just to add that little tiny detail. This one you can also see part of the eye there, or one eye. You can see one eye, and then this one a little tiny bit of a sparkle of that eye as well. Not sure if you guys can catch that, but we're going to add that here in just a moment. Okay, so take a look at your turtles. Okay, add your little touches. If you're not done, that's okay. So all I'm doing here is grabbing a little bit of my white, little tiny bit. Gonna grab some of my blue, making a really, really light blue. You can also take a little bit of water, a little tiny bit, right? Don't need a lot for this step. This turtle is already dry, so I can come in here. Okay, over the head, just on the very edge. Maybe, and I'll give you guys a close-up in a moment. Maybe here on the flip, a really tiny one. Okay, little eye, or not. You don't need to put an eye on yours if you don't think the perspective, if it doesn't suit the perspective of your turtle, don't worry about it. Okay. Whoa. You know what I just noticed? I think I was out of view. Let me back this up. Just a dot for the eyes. That's right, Kinkini. Okay, so that turtle's already dry. We're waiting for this one to dry. Okay, as this one's drying, and it should dry pretty quickly because my studio is warming up pretty good with all my lights without having the air on. But so it should dry pretty quickly. If you're waiting for your turtles to dry, or you're waiting to do the turtles a little bit later, look around at your painting. Look around to see if there's anything that you want to change or adjust, that sort of thing. Okay, let me back it up a little bit more, a little more, a little more, and there we are. Okay, so perhaps some of you would maybe make your sunlight a little bit more reflective, a little bit brighter, a little more even all the way down. That's one thing you can do. You can also tone it down. If it's too bright, you can add a mixture of the blue and the white with a little bit more blue in it, so it's a little more subtle, and then you can come in and paint right over them, some of these lines. The only thing is, in this case, you have the turtles you want to be careful of, right? So you don't paint over them. You could do that. Or maybe yours has some fish floating around in the background, right? Or like I mentioned earlier, a shark or a squid. Or maybe yours has a little mermaid floating around way back there, or you barely see the tail of the mermaid as she's going that way, right? All kinds of really fun stuff that you can do with this. Another thing, if you have glitter paint, you could add glitter paint. I have these really cool neon paints that glow under black light. So I've got blues and greens and yellows and purples. And these guys, when you add these, usually you add these at the end, they really glow. So right now I'm shining black light on this blue, and it's kind of hard to tell, but it really glows nicely. There's without the black light, there's the black light. If I add that to my painting would really, really glow. So there's all kinds of really neat things that you can do. So something like this. And glitter paint I mentioned, you could take some glitter paint, and I don't have any within my reach, but basically it's glitter that's floating around in glue. You can take it and add, let's say you can use some green glitter paint to put on some of the foliage, the vegetation there at the bottom. That would be really cool. You could put some glitter over your turtles. Okay, so get creative. If you got any of that stuff and you want to add it to yours, please feel free to do so. Also, don't forget to send me pictures of your stuff. Okay, send me pictures of your paintings over to Painting with Jesse here on Facebook, and or you can email them to me at paintingwithjesse@gmail.com. So let's get that highlight. Let's put that highlight in on that big turtle, and then we are pretty much done, except for signing our piece and then painting that bottom edge. I am going to paint that bottom edge right before I say goodbye, but give me one sec while I make my mixture here really quickly. So again, a little bit of blue, a little bit of white, and I'm just going to come across the top. This area up here on my turtle is already pretty dry. Okay, right over that top. Maybe this flipper. Top of my turtle's head. Okay, little tiny eye right there. And that does it. No, one little highlight on that flipper. But look at that. Okay, now that's pretty much the end of today's session. What I would do is this: sign it. Let's see. Let's find a different color to sign it with. I'll just use white for now. Anytime I sign something, I usually pick one of the corners, left or right. Just going to sign mine, Jesse. Okay. Then if I was going to do the bottom edge, I'd flip it over on its head, and then I would take my black paint and just paint over the top here just to match the front, the face part of the canvas. Now, before you guys leave, don't forget, go check out, if you're new to the page, go check out the video library of all the recorded sessions that we have. Like I said, there's about 100 of them now. Started this in April of last year, April of 2020. Just turned a year last month, right? April, May, yes. Yes, Jesse, you're right. A year ago, April 22nd, I believe it was the anniversary. But anyway, go check that out. Also, there's lots of events coming the rest of this month, and then I've already got most of June figured out. I've got a calendar listed on on my main Painting with Jesse page. If you go over there, there's a calendar that you'll find in one of the posts that'll show you all the paintings that are coming up. Also, you can click on the event tab. At the top of the Painting with Jesse page, there is an event tab. Usually you'll see it under the more. There's a little drop down box that says more. You click on that and you'll see events. You click on that and it'll show you all the upcoming events. Okay, so if you guys are interested, go check those out. But all right, everyone, if you guys have any questions, please put them in the comments. We've got about 2 to 3 minutes. Oh, Yanni's daughter says, how would you paint a fish? Great question. Let's add a fish to our little painting. So Yanni's daughter, pretty easy. Okay, we're going to do this. I'm going to do it with my little round brush. I'm going to add like a little fish way over here. Maybe it's a little lone fish, or you can do a little school of fish. But it's really important to grab some paint with water. Okay, so let's say, and I'll give you a close-up. Little easy little fish. Let's see. We're going to do it. Hi, Eliza. How's it going? You're going to paint it tomorrow. Sounds good. Ooh, a little Nemo would be cool. So here's a little fish way back here. Going to start with the little body. Almost like we're doing a little almond. And then there's a little tail. Then we fill it in. Nice, simple little fish. Okay. Want to see that again? So start with the body. Maybe this one's going to be a little smaller. Start with the body. Okay, and I can fill it in now or later. Then we do the little triangle for the tail. Look at that. Okay. A couple of cute little fish like that. You got it, Phyllis. No worries. Practice. That's what you do. You got to, takes a little practice, but the more you practice, just like with anything, the better you will get. So, yeah, absolutely. Awesome, Jessica. Let's see. Hold on a second. Let me back it up here. What's up, Gloria? Gloria Marie's in the house. So, Yanni's daughter, what do you think? Couple little fish, nice and easy, right? And you can do a bunch of these. Like you have a little school of fish. You can add 3, 4, 5 of them in a row, like they're all swimming together. You can also do smaller ones, like way down there, or even gray ones way back in the distance. If you make them a lighter color, it'll look like they're further away. Okay, but hopefully that helped. That answered your question about drawing little fish. Okay, but all right. Oh, Chrissy, so you're on Facebook. So to send me a picture, you go over to Messenger, go over to your Messenger, or you can actually go to my page, go to Painting with Jesse, right? And then send message, click on send message, and then you just simply attach your pictures there. Okay, say, hey, Jesse, we painted with you today. Here's our pictures. And that would be fantastic. That would be awesome. I would love to get as many pictures as I can. And then that way I could post them all together. People love seeing what everybody else did. Everyone's paintings are going to look different. And that's what's so fun about this. And people like to go through and, oh, look at that one. Oh, look at that one. Oh, that one added a squid, or that one added fish, or a starfish, or a mermaid, or what have you. Okay. So please send those over, as I would love to have them. Okay. But all right, everyone. Let's see. Faye Nelson says our 7-year-old Mia. Hopefully it's Mia. Maybe it's Maya. So Maya or Mia. Hopefully if you could spell it out for me there, kind of M-I-A for Mia, or Maya. I guess it's spelled the same, Maya or Mia. Anyway, I'm glad she loved it, and hopefully you do come on back. That would be fantastic. Awesome, Yanni's daughter. Yep, add a few little fish. It'll look awesome, okay? All right, everyone. Things for the background. What else can you do for the background? Let's see, a little whale off in the distance. I already said a squid, but an octopus would be good. Other fish, an eel maybe. Jellyfish would be cool. Okay, lots of really cool stuff that you could add back there. Okay, but all right, Nikki, you got it. Tanya McClinton, my pleasure. Lorraine, you got it. Glad you enjoyed it. And I will see you guys all very soon. Again, go over and check out the event tab under the more. So under the more drop down box at the top of the Painting with Jesse page, you click on that, and you can see all the upcoming events. Lots of fun stuff. I will be adding a couple of more kid-centric events on there, so please take a look at that. If you haven't yet, make sure you like and follow the page so that you get notifications every time I post an update. I also started an email newsletter that I email out on a regular basis with a calendar, with stencils and things like that. So if you're interested in joining the email list, please send me a message at paintingwithjesse@gmail.com, paintingwithjesse@gmail.com, and just put on the header, add something like please add to email list, and I will put you on there. And every time I send that out, whenever I add something new to the calendar, I just send out a batch email to everyone that's on the newsletter list. Okay, but your email does not get shown to anybody else. Okay. Yes, Kinkini, I have not yet. I am still working that out. I look to be launching at the beginning of July. I'm looking at a likely tentative launch date for my membership of July 1st. For any of you that are interested in doing an art membership with me, more details to come. I've still got to work all that out. I will be launching for the founding members. Again, right now my tentative launch date is July 1st, but I'll definitely be posting a lot more details on that later. It just allows everyone to get more involved in the art community, to create a nice art community, safe area, fun area for everyone to enjoy a lot of creativity. I'll be doing things like Zoom sessions, question and answers, contests, all sorts of really fun stuff. But again, still working the details on all of that. So please stay tuned. It's going to be a lot of fun. Just a lot more of this, but more in depth. Okay, for those of you that really want to learn or take your artistic skills to another level, or simply just have fun. I know not everybody wants to become some, you know, artist, a professional artist. Some people just want to paint for fun. It's a combination of all that with no pressure. But we'll talk about that some more later. Okay. All right, Catherine. Fantastic. Absolutely. Like I said, more details to come. I haven't posted anything on that yet. I'm still working out all the details. I want to be able to provide lots of quality and quantity without overwhelming. So I'm creating a really nice pathway for that. Okay. So again, for those of you that are interested, more details to come later. Okay. And if you're part of the newsletter, all that information will be there as well, but I'll be posting it on my Facebook page. But all right, everyone, thank you all so much for joining me today. It's always a pleasure. It's always such a pleasure. Hope you guys all have an awesome rest of the day, and I will see you all very soon. Okay, bye-bye now.